Hey everyone, with the holidays fast approaching, I figured it would be fun to travel back in time and check out what Xbox was advertising 20 years ago. So let's go on a little nostalgia trip and check out an Xbox demo disc from holiday 2003. On the cover, we can see there's four playable demos with Project Gotham Racing 2 getting the main focus, while also mentioning that NHL Hits Pro, Crimson Skies High Road to Revenge, and Dungeons and Dragons Heroes all have playable demos on this disc. It also states that there's an exclusive look at the Alien Quadrilogy DVD with a chance to win the 9 disc set, and the back of the case is just one big advertisement for the collection. So let's turn on the original Xbox and check out disc number 26 for Holiday 2003 from the official Xbox magazine. Honestly, they must have paid for some pretty good advertising slots because right away was a trailer for the Alien DVD set. The trailer was about a minute and a half long and shows off the movies and the collection. After that was quite a surprise as there was another movie trailer, but with no mention of it on the cover, it definitely caught me off guard. There's a trailer for The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. It was nice and quick, roughly 30 seconds, but definitely a surprise. From there, we transition into the actual demo disc. While keeping the same layout as the last demo disc we looked at together, a main difference is the trailer shown on the main menu. Instead of rotating through different game trailers, this just mostly rotated through the two movie trailers, which to me defeats the point of a video game demo disc. While some game trailers were shown in this spot, it was definitely the movie trailers the vast majority of the time. As for the categories, there's a few more this time with playable demos at the top, followed by Download Center, Alien Quadrilogy, LXG, Features, Video Showcase, and About This Disc. Now, to be warned, compared to the last demo disc we looked at, this one is almost entirely videos. But I figured we can start off at the top with the playable demos, starting with the cover game, Project Gotham Racing 2. Considering it's a demo, there was basically no features enabled, which isn't at all surprising. So I went to single player and just tried out a race. And while the visuals were okay and the gameplay felt responsive, I personally was absolutely terrible at it. I'm not someone who plays racing games at all, unless they're over the top and unrealistic. So any racing game that tries to make it feel like real driving in any capacity completely loses me as a player. While I can understand that the game performed decently well, showed some damage to the vehicles, and sounded okay, it's just not something that I'm going to play on any sort of regular basis. Along with the simple races to try out, the demo also included time trials, and even though there weren't any other competitors to get in my way, I was still terrible. There was also the cone challenges, which just proved how bad of a video game driver I really am. The demo was rather bare bones in terms of location and vehicle selection, but it did what it needed to do, which was showcase the style of racing game it is. So, in that sense, it was an effective demo. The next demo on the list was Crimson Skies High Road to Revenge. This game started off with a cutscene to set up the story for the demo, which I don't usually think is that important for demos, as I feel demos should focus on gameplay. But I do think the cutscene was decently effective in this case. Once you hit the start button on the main menu, you're given absolutely no options, just single player or exit. That's it. But once you get into the gameplay, it really gives you a good showcase as to how the full game is going to play. There's a very mini tutorial to teach you the controls, which then transitions into your first flight, which plays pretty well. Being able to fly around a 3D space really lets you get a good feel for controlling your plane. The demo actually lets you control a couple of missions, which is good as it gives the demo a bit more of a full experience. The demo as a whole took me about half an hour, which is definitely more robust than a lot of other demos out there. Honestly, I was able to get accustomed to the controls rather quickly. The visuals were pretty decent, there were small cutscenes, voice acting, and the music was pretty good. I personally had a really good time with this one. After Crimson Skies, next on the list for playable demos was NHL Hits Pro. Considering NHL Hits 2003 is a game I loved growing up, it's kind of surprising I've never played any other NHL Hits game, so I was definitely looking forward to trying this. It starts off with a montage of hockey highlights showcasing great goals, big saves, and thunderous hits, but we all know the visuals aren't going to look realistic at all. This demo gives you very little options. You press start and it loads a game. Anaheim versus New Jersey. That's it. That's your only option. Although it does give you the choice in some different jerseys to wear. As for the gameplay itself, it's a fast paced 5 on 5 hockey game, which I was not expecting as the NHL Hits game I was accustomed to is actually 3 versus 3. So I just assumed all NHL Hits games were 3 on 3, but apparently not. One of the similarities, however, is the lack of traditional hockey rules, which is what allows the game to be extremely fast paced and hard hitting, as there's very few stoppages in the gameplay. While the game is okay and the demo is rather bare bones in terms of content, the demo is also extremely short. One period of hockey. That's it. Crimson Skies lets you play multiple missions, but NHL Hits Pro doesn't even let you play a full game of hockey. The crazy thing is, once the first period is done, it doesn't even kick you out to the game's menu. It kicks you out to the demo menu, completely out of the game, which I thought was a little overboard. But since I was already back in the main menu, I figured I'd jump right into the next demo, which was Dungeons and Dragons Heroes. This demo does have a cinematic to start off the story, and to my surprise, it actually lets you pick the class of character to play as. You have the options to choose between fighter, rogue, wizard, and cleric, and I decided to go with wizard. The game is a mostly top down hack and slash game. Visually, the game was dark and gloomy, but that could just be because the demo was set in a cave dungeon type location, although I have a feeling the entire game is going to have a similar color palette. In terms of graphics, the game also didn't look very impressive, but personally, I can look past it if the gameplay is really good, and well, I didn't feel like it was anything spectacular. My character had a melee attack as well as magic abilities. I just felt like the game got really repetitive in terms of the combat, and the dungeon crawling aspect seemed like there wasn't anything interesting happening, which just made the game feel really repetitive and boring, which is the exact opposite of what you want for a demo. While there was nothing terribly bad with the game, I just personally wasn't able to get hooked enough to even feel like it would be a game I consider playing all the way through, even if I could. The game ran fine, sounded okay, had some enemy variety, but that's kind of how the demo felt to me, like it was perfectly average. There was nothing bad, but also nothing good standing out either way. The demo was about 20 to 25 minutes long, and I did beat it, but once I was done with it, there was very little about it that made it memorable in any capacity. Sadly, though, that's it for playable demos for this disc. Only four of them. Considering how many videos are on the disc, I kinda wish there were more actual demos, but let's move on to the features, and first up is Broken Sword. This was a really short cutscene, maybe only 30 seconds long, showcasing some of the visuals and art direction. There was voice acting in this, but no music or sound effects. This is clearly just a small portion of an unfinished version of the game. Interesting to see, but I suppose it means that at the time the game was still really far off from a release. Next up was Ninja Gaiden, and unlike Broken Sword, this was definitely a very curated gameplay trailer. This had a little bit of everything: combat, traversal, multiple enemy types, sound effects, music, and everything you would expect from what feels like a very standard gameplay trailer. This was actually almost too long though. At roughly 3 minutes, I definitely felt like they were showing off too much of the game and ruining any potential surprises, but it was definitely effective at getting the point across as to how the game will look and play. Next up in the features section, we have Cameo, and I think this was a pretty good gameplay trailer. It showed off some combat, a quick snippet of different locations, multiple characters and enemies, as well as both dark and bright visuals depending on the level. Although there were no in game sounds as it was just music playing throughout. But if you had never heard of Cameo before seeing this, I feel like you might have a decent idea of what type of game it is afterwards. And to end the features section, there's a trailer promoting Xbox Live. It's kind of crazy to think that only 20 years ago, being connected online was a feature that needed to be promoted as it was still relatively new to the video game ecosystem. This trailer really tried to get the point across that you can play with anyone from anywhere. And while I don't think it was particularly effective trailer, I understand that it could be a weird topic to try and promote, especially at the early stages of online gaming. Personally, I think a voiceover instead of generic music would have done wonders for this trailer. Even if it made it more boring, it would have been way more informative. Next up, we have the video showcase section. And if you remember from last time, I have absolutely no idea what the difference is between features and video showcase, as both sections just seem to show trailers for games. But either way, we're starting off with Amped 2. This trailer seemed like it was targeting a very specific audience with the fast cuts and heavy music. It really made it feel like it was aiming at the extreme sports, daredevil, adrenaline junkie type of person. At only about a minute long and only really showing snowboarders doing tricks, it doesn't let the viewer know if there's any other modes like races or time trials or if it's just high scores from tricks. I feel like the trailer could have given the viewer just a bit more info. After that, we have a trailer for Crimson Skies, which feels very redundant to me as there's already a playable demo on the disc. Why do I need a trailer to show off a game that I can actually try? It doesn't really make any sense to me. Luckily, it was really short, but still feels unnecessary. Third, in the video showcase section, we have Deus Ex Invisible War, and this was much more of a story trailer instead of a gameplay trailer. It was basically all cutscenes and cinematics, but it did give you a rough idea how it was going to look visually. Personally, though, I think gameplay trailers are way more effective. However, it did establish a tone and visual identity for the game. So, in that regard, it did its job. I just think gameplay, or at least a combo of the two, is always the better option. Next up is Driver 3, and this definitely felt like a movie trailer. It felt like an action packed trailer that's supposed to get us hyped for car chases and gunfights. But if you've never played a driver game before, I didn't feel like there was anything to convince you to try it over any other game of the same style. I feel like these trailers are supposed to show new people what's special about it, and to me, nothing made it stand out from the crowd. After Driver 3, we have Jade Empire, and it's a very colorful and atmospheric trailer. There's a lot of sweeping shots of mountaintops, which transitions to seeing what's inside a character's head as they meditate. The entire trailer is to get you interested in what's haunting this character, and I think it was relatively effective, although the trailer was decently short, so it didn't really explain too much. After that, we have the trailer for Lynx 2004, and I've never seen a golf trailer try so hard to be hardcore, but that's how it felt. There was heavy rock music and quick camera cuts to make golf feel as extreme as possible, which to me was just completely ridiculous. Luckily, the trailer was incredibly short. Now we're really getting into the sports section of the video showcase as we have NBA Inside Drive 2004. At least this trailer had not only the in game sounds of the crowds or whistles from the refs, but also the commentators as music played over top. It was just a trailer of in game highlights, and considering it's a basketball game, I don't think there was much else to show. Short, effective, but if you don't already like basketball, I don't think this trailer would stand out to you at all. Staying with sports, we have NHL Rivals 2004. And just like the previous trailer, we have in game highlights with in game sounds and commentators and music. The only real difference is this NHL game does seem to show off multiple game modes, which is nice, but other than that, it's a relatively straightforward trailer. Next up, we have NASCAR Thunder 2004, and I suppose it does show the intensity of the races with crashes, car damage, and inside the car viewpoints. It also has the crowd and commentators hyping up the races. Honestly, I'm just not a big racing or car person, and I especially don't understand the appeal of NASCAR, and this trailer didn't do anything to convince me to give it a shot. Although the car damage, the visuals at times, and the good use of colors on the cars seem like positive aspects to the game. After NASCAR, we have another racing game. In fact, it's the same game as the demo I played earlier. We have Project Gotham Racing 2, and I gotta say, this trailer did a way better job of showcasing the game than the demo did in my mind. This showcases the game like it's incredibly intense, and maybe it's just because I'm bad at it. I definitely did not get that feeling from the demo. But just like Crimson Skies, there's already a demo on this disc. I don't think this trailer should be on this disc at all. Next, we have the third racing game in a row. We have Rally Sport Challenge 2. While I think three racing games on here is a bit overboard, I do appreciate that all three are entirely different types of racing games, as this seems to be far more off roading centered, and it actually looks like the most intriguing one in my mind. It's the one that will probably have the most over the top courses and things of that nature, which I prefer in my racing games. Next, we have a complete change of pace as we have Splinter Cell Pandora Tomorrow. This trailer is cryptic, while at the same time does a decent job at showcasing that there's a lot of stealth involved in the gameplay. It also shows off a lot of night vision type visuals, which can make for a very dull looking trailer as there's not a ton of bright colors in this. I do think it gets its point across in the trailer, but I don't think it's going to be very effective at getting new players interested. Moving back to sports, we have Top Spin. And again, instead of leaning into the sport of tennis and why people like it, they tried to make it feel as extreme as possible. I also found the thought process of using the same two character models but have them seamlessly change locations as if it's the same match in every location to be a visually interesting choice, which I do appreciate. But while it helps to show off that there's multiple courts to play on, it leaves me wondering if there's a very limited character selection screen. Surprisingly enough, I actually think this trailer was the most effective of all the sports games, but I still think it's weird that they don't lean into what people actually enjoy about tennis, as I doubt the actual game is going to be so intense and extreme. And finally, to end the video showcase section, we have Whiplash. And this looks to be a 3D action platformer where you play as an animal and need to fight your way through the game. There's voice acting, gameplay, and cutscenes. Basically, a little bit of everything you would expect in a video game trailer. I think having this game last on the list actually helps it out as it really stands out as a unique looking game compared to so many others on the disc. Now, if you remember from the last demo disc we went over, I actually have no idea how this download center works, but there's supposed to be downloadable content for these specific games. So if anyone knows what I'm supposed to do here, please let me know. Other than that, there's a section specifically for the Alien quadrilogy, and in there you can choose to watch the entire trailer again, watch a decently interesting slideshow of images from the movies, which is about a minute long, and there's actually a link you can go to if you want to try to win a copy of the movies in a sweepstakes that was taking place at the time. There's also a similar section for League of Extraordinary Gentlemen where you can watch the trailer, watch a slideshow of images from the movie, and the same link to the sweepstakes. However, there's one major difference in this section as there's actually a deleted scene that you can watch. It's not very long, but it's a neat feature to have included in something like this. And finally, there's the About the Disc section, which is a short credit sequence for everyone who worked on the disc. After checking out the disc, I always find it interesting to see how different games were advertised to people and what they decided to showcase to the potential players. Trying to make golf seem like an extreme sport is kind of baffling to me, whereas showing Whiplash at the end of the list really helped make it stand out from the crowd. If I had to choose, personally, I would say Crimson Skies had the best demo, Ninja Gaiden was the best feature, even though it was a little too long, and Whiplash was the best showcase. And honestly, I'm still confused as to why Alien and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen had such a big presence on a video game demo disc. But there we have it, a look back at the 2003 holidays by virtue of the official Xbox Magazine demo disc number 26 for Holiday 2003. A little video trailer heavy for my liking, but I'm sure some of the other demo discs won't be like that. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to hit the thumbs up button. It really helps out a lot. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe for more video game related content. And if you want to check out the first demo disc I looked at for October 2003, then be sure to click on this video right here.